The NFL season is over. The Super Bowl is over. The offseason is upon us. And we are here for the HPL NFL season in review. I'm Noah today. I'm with Nate. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
How was your NFL season?
You know, just like yours, it started bad, but it got a whole lot better.
Yeah, it did. It was a different kind of season. I think it went pretty fast, just like most seasons do. Um, but overall, it was a pretty good season. Ended in a little bit of disappointment, obviously, with that Super Bowl. Not the greatest Super Bowl, even if you're a Patriots fan. Like, come on, it wasn't the greatest game ever. But um, so yeah, we're gonna be breaking down a lot of the different. We have a lot of different categories. I'll say that we have best players, worst players, best game, best team, worst team, disappointing players. And then we're gonna talk about things from the refs to the playoffs, Super Bowls, and then at the end we'll talk about some upcoming free agents and what kind of difference they could make in the next season. So I guess we'll get it started, and we're gonna talk with the best players. Talk about the best players here to start. And we have two. The first one is Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. He had 5,097 passing yards, 50 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and obviously took home the MVP. This was the best player in the NFL this year.
Yeah, it wasn't even really close. I mean, when this guy got drafted, people were really shaking their heads like, wait, what? They traded up
Right.
for this guy? And then he sat the year behind Alex Smith, turned out to be great for him, and then he came out and looked incredible.
Yeah, he took that job, and I think he made the most of his season behind Alex Smith. He kind of had that extra year to get familiar with the offense, and yeah, he looked great this past season. And for many years to come, I think he'll be the Chiefs will be a threat to make the Super Bowl every year as long as they have him
Mm-hmm.
and keep that defense playing well. Next player, our second best player of the 2018-19 NFL season is a defensive player, Aaron Donald from the Rams. He had 59 tackles and 20 and a half sacks. Obviously led the league in sacks. He had a dominant year this year, and he probably could have had more sacks if opposing lines just didn't double him every time. But he really allowed some other guys on that defensive line to create more pressure, and it just helped the defense as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly. He got doubled almost every play. And to be able to put up 20 and a half sacks, I mean, it helps when you have Dominic and Sue next to you. But,
Right.
I mean, that's just, the stats are crazy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So those are our two best players, Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Donald. Moving right along, we have our best game. This one took a little bit of time to kind of find our best game, but once we found it, I mean, we knew right away because we remembered right back to it. It was the Rams versus the Chiefs. It was the game that was supposed to be played in Mexico City, but the field was not in good enough conditions to be played there. So they played it in Los Angeles, yeah. And it was 54-51 Rams as the final score. And this is a game that just, near the end of the game, I feel like the offenses couldn't stop scoring. It was insane on that Monday night.
Yeah, I remember watching a little bit of it, and I know the Rams ended up making the Super Bowl and all that, and their defense was like, touted as pretty good. And
Hmm.
it's funny, in those kind of games, defense just goes out the window, like halfway through.
Yeah.
They just don't, there's no way of stopping them.
Yeah, the offenses end up scoring a lot more points in the second half than they do in the first half. I don't know why. Maybe, I'm not sure, but it just seems like it always goes like that. All right, moving right along. Another one that we kind of had to think about a little bit. Best team. Usually you'd say, oh, well, Super Bowl champions. They're obviously the best team. We kind of felt like this year maybe there could have been other candidates such as the Rams or the Saints. But at the end of the day, we did have to stick with the Super Bowl champions, and we went with the Patriots. And basically because, everyone was talking about how the Chiefs were the best team, but they went into Arrowhead, they beat them. And then when you go into the Super Bowl and, your offense struggles, you can't put up points, your defense is there, and they get the job done. Even when your defense wasn't acclaimed to be the best defense all year, they get the job done in the Super Bowl, and you end up being Super Bowl champions. That is why the Patriots are our best team.
Yeah, I mean, it's really incredible what Bill Belichick can do up there. I mean, the Patriots have almost no star players, but yet every year they're competitive every year and they
Well, I
win.
mean, come on, Tom Brady,
Okay, yeah. Besides Tom Brady, obviously.
Gronk's pretty good.
Yeah, but
You know,
he's not even
he's
like a
not.
specialty on the offense. He's just kind of there.
I know, but he's one of the. When you think of him, you think of him as the best tight end,
Well,
but he
yeah,
hasn't done much. So I don't want to say they don't have any stars, but
yeah,
it is pretty crazy. That's Brady and Belichick's sixth ring together. I mean, that's unheard of. You know, so that's impressive, and that's why we had to give them the best team, best coach. Couldn't really decide on this one, so we ended up going with two. We went with Matt Nagy and Frank Reich. Obviously, Nagy in Chicago, turning that Bears team into a playoff team this year, and then same with Frank Reich. And the Colts, I didn't think really had much of a chance this year. Started the year up 1-2, wasn't thinking too highly of them, and then they just took off. And kind of same with the Bears. Obviously, trading for Khalil Mack really gave them some. I feel like it kind of jump started them, gave that team motivation and carried them into the playoffs. And it was, I think, both teams are poised for another great year next year.
yeah. I mean, the Bears' defense is really good. I think they're just one dominant receiver away from being a serious threat.
Yeah, that is their one weakness, I think, receiver. But anything for the Colts?
The Colts, I mean, if they could end up landing Le'Veon Bell or like a big, because they have so much money, it's not even funny. If they could land like some good free agents, then they'll be competitive in the AFC.
And I mean, Le'Veon liked the picture of him and Andrew Luck in a Colts uniform, like maybe 2 months ago.
I didn't know
So
that.
you can't forget about that. Oh yeah, yeah. All right. Biggest surprise. We went with Baker Mayfield for this one. Obviously rookie. Everyone, he was highly followed going into this year. Obviously number one pick. But he wasn't the starter, and he took over and he played really well.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first game that he came in because Tyrod got hurt. I think that's how that went. And
Yeah.
he lit it up. And people
Yeah.
and then the next game they wanted to put Tyrod back. They didn't want to keep Baker out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Browns are just incompetent with what's the old coach?
Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackson. I think he is one of the worst coaches in the NFL, but somehow he still has a job. And
Yeah. Well, he got fired.
yeah, didn't he get hired somewhere else though?
I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe not,
But
but I thought he got hired. But still, it was incredible he was there for that long. Thankfully, the Browns have a decent coach going forward. Baker will be a fine player, I think.
Yeah. Does not look like he was hired. There was something, he did go with the Bengals, but they fired him, so he's gone from
Okay.
the Bengals.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he was like some assistant coach or something with them.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the kind of disappointments of the year and basically categories of worst. Disappointing players. There were a couple. We did go with Kirk Cousins for our standout one. A guy who stats don't tell the whole story here. He had, statistics-wise, not an awful season, but really he just didn't come up in the clutch when he had to.
Yeah, I mean, you said it earlier that he had almost a fully guaranteed contract, like 3 years and what, 80 million?
Yeah,
Something
it
like
was
that?
basically, I think it was 90 something,
No, even more.
fully guaranteed. You don't see that much.
Yeah, that's insanity.
NFL.
And really, he didn't. I
And
mean, he had decent stats, but just didn't perform. Like, didn't even get
yeah,
close
when
to
you
the
get paid like that, well, let's not say that. They were pretty close.
playoffs.
They win that game they're in.
That's true.
So, I mean, that's as close as you can get. But yeah, he didn't come up when he needed to. And when you pay someone that much money, you need to perform it in crunch time, and you need to be clutch, and he just wasn't that this way. And it was really, we could say it was a big disappointment for the Vikings in general, because they came off that NFC Championship game year and then didn't make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
But next, we're going to move on to our worst team of the year. And we went with the Arizona Cardinals, 3-13 record. Obviously, they hold the number 1 draft pick in this year's upcoming draft. And, there's a lot of holes in this team, but ultimately what it boiled down to for us was the quarterback position. Obviously, you start with Sam Bradford, and you end up cutting him, and then Josh Rosen comes in, and obviously a rookie. And going into this year, I think it was smart of them to not start him because I didn't think he was ready at all. Obviously, he was drafted with the I don't remember exactly what pick
10th,
it was.
9th or
10th? No, yeah, I think it was 10th. But I knew he wasn't going to be ready for this year, and it showed when he had to come in. He threw 11 touchdowns and 14 interceptions on the year. Just a bad year overall from the Cardinals.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't remember who their coach was, but I know it was somebody they had from like the Bruce Arians thing. So they were kind of like running the same thing. But I mean, the Cardinals, their roster is just such like a weird mess. Like they still have Patrick Peterson, even though they're 3-13. They really should have traded him a while ago to try to just get some assets. Larry Fitzgerald's getting old. I think it's his last year with them, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think he came back for another year just for the 2019-2020 season. But
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the new young guy as their coach.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury. I think, this guy's 39 years old. And young guys, I think, are going to begin to be the face of the NFL for coaches. So, because I just think they're more, I think players want to play more for them. And, you start to see it, obviously, with Sean McVay. And I think you'll continue to see that throughout the league. Biggest disappointment, teams-wise, basically. We have a couple of these. Start off with the Falcons, team that made the playoffs last year, and then this year 7-9, but they just did not play well.
Yeah, I mean, their record doesn't really tell the whole story. I know they were in a tough division, like Saints and Panthers, maybe even the Bucks, when they had not James Winston, what's his face, Fitzmagic going off.
Yeah, 2-0, 2-0,
2-0, he's the GOAT. And then so the Falcons, Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, it's like he's gone cold or something. Julio had another great year, but like something's up with Matt Ryan. I just don't understand what it is.
Yeah, he had a rough year. Not really sure what happened there. Next team that we said was a disappointment is the Packers. Aaron Rodgers had a pretty good year, but he just had no help around him at all. And obviously the coach.
Yeah.
Was a big factor in that.
Did you see the reports that like Rodgers would just not even listen to McCarthy? He would just run his own plays on the field.
Oh, I believe it.
That's crazy. I don't know who the new coach is, but it takes a lot to handle Aaron Rodgers.
They hired the Titans offensive coordinator. I forget what his name is though. Oh, Matt LaFleur.
Yes,
I believe that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Is their new coach. I like that hire. I watched his introductory press conference. I think he's going to be a good coach. Yeah, there it is. Another young coach, though. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You'll see it a lot more often. Another team, the Jaguars. This is a huge disappointment here. You go to the AFC Championship game last year, in a game that you could have won too. Okay. And this year you just have an awful year. Blake Bortles plays not good at all. I mean, obviously he got them to the AFC Championship game. Really, it was the defense, but he did play well enough for them to get there. And this year, it just did not work for them. The defense was not as good as it was the year before. I mean, you go 5-11. 5-11, come on. You know what? I don't understand what happened with them.
Yeah, Blake Bortles, we just know he's not that great. But
boy, he's not great.
A huge surprise to me was Jalen Ramsey. He kind of regressed this year. He talked all that trash on every quarterback. Remember that? Huge interview with him, and he was getting cooked. I mean, he wasn't the only problem, but come on, man. Come on.
It's just I'm interested to see what they do next year.
Yeah.
Is it going to be the old Jaguars where they're just awful every year and they used to be the joke of the NFL before the Browns really? Or are they gonna? Well, they need a new quarterback, in my opinion. You can't keep Blake Bortles another year, and we'll see what they do. Um, Last disappointment, it's not even a team, but it's John Gruden. I mean, you sign a 10-year, $100 million contract to be the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, and he just had an awful first year. And I guarantee it, Raiders ownership is regretting their decision. They just they I don't understand. You never give a coach 10 years.
Yeah.
You know that is a recipe for disaster, and it's already a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, so many reports of John Gruden and Derek Carr just not agreeing with each other at all, and then
Mm-hmm.
trading Amari Cooper, getting rid of Khalil Mack. People are really questioning him, but I mean, what they got in return was pretty worthwhile. Like 3 first-round picks this year they have, like 1 of their
Yeah.
own and 2 from the Bears and Cowboys, which is
Yeah.
impressive. But if they don't hit on those picks, then John Gruden
Oh
seriously
no.
messed up.
Oh, that'd be bad. All right. So those are our, I guess you could call them awards for the 2018-19 NFL season. Now we're just going to go into a little bit of discussion about certain things, and I want to start off with the refs. This is a highly debated topic from this past year, and it got brought to a full-on head in the NFC Championship game between the Rams and the Saints. Obviously, everyone knows it with the big no-call pass interference there at the end of the game. Can the NFL do anything about this situation? Not the actual situation of the game, obviously, but going forward
For the refs.
for the refs.
That's really tough because, I mean, there's only so many rule changes you can make before the game is just different. Not that's
Right.
bad, but the refs, I mean, they're on the field, and when you're in the moment, you're not always
Mm-hmm.
thinking of the handbook. You're thinking of, okay, was that or was that not, pass interference, for instance.
Of course.
It's
Of course.
just, I mean, obviously they missed it, but I don't think there's anything you can do. It's on the refs.
Well,
It's not on
look,
the NFL, I don't think.
if you do say you're going to change something, it's not going to go in effect next year because you're going to want to test it out. Rule changes are always put into effect during preseason games. We saw it a couple years ago before they moved the extra point back. It was tested in preseason games. They wanted to see how it works, and they do this for everything. Now, there is a couple things I think you could do. You could go to the replay. You could.
All right.
I think. Why do we just put it in the refs' hands? The MLB did this. You can go to the replay now for calls. You still can't do it for balls and strikes, but you can go to the replay for certain things. And I don't understand why you wouldn't. It might make the game a little longer. Maybe too many replays. Obviously, at some point, you're gonna have to say what can be and what can't be, and it's flags, which makes it a little bit controversial because I feel like everyone interprets it differently. But you could do that. Another option I think you could do is, and if you can throw a flag, right, and then you'll see the refs sometimes say there is no foul for this and that. Why can't you have refs throw flags after the play's over? Like the other ref sees it. Oh, that's a blatant foul. Like, come on,
Yeah.
what are you doing? You huddle up. You talk about it, and then you throw the flag. I mean, if you can pick flags up, why can't you throw them down? I think that's another viable option for the NFL. But there's a couple things you could do, but people are always going to complain about it. And I mean, I don't think it will ever end, to be honest.
No, there's always going to be bad calls.
Yeah. Refs are human, and they'll miss stuff, and it hurts. It sucks if you're a fan of the team when that happens, but it's just part of the game. I mean,
And
I don't know.
I mean, a lot of fans don't want to hear this, but the whole game shouldn't come down to one penalty.
Right.
It just shouldn't. If you're gonna win, you should win. I mean, the Saints fans, they were complaining all week. Oh, we should have won the game. Well, no, you shouldn't have. It was just a penalty. You didn't get free 7 points.
Well, right. But I feel like
I mean, I know
it
what they're
was a
saying.
close game.
I know what they're saying, but they even had the chance in overtime to win it, and they threw an interception. So
Yeah, but it would have never had to come to that. And I see their point through that, but you're also right. And it's just,
it's a
I don't know
mess.
which side to think. It's tough. But anyway, that's the whole mess of refs. Next, I want to talk about the playoffs that we had this year. I thought, personally, it was a pretty good playoffs. There were a couple games that were pretty lopsided, but overall, I thought it was pretty competitive playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, the first round had some good games. I mean,
for
Eagles
sure.
Bears was good as a
That
good
was the highlight of
defensive
that
battle.
weekend. And then the Eagles game the next week was probably one of the better ones in that too.
Yeah,
Between the Saints, I thought, and then both championship games were great. You
yeah,
know, they both went into overtime. You know, what else can you ask
yeah.
if you're the NFL? Obviously, the flag in that one game, but overall, I thought the playoffs were really good, and I'm sure I didn't look, but I'm sure I would think what do you call it? The numbers, the ratings were probably up for a good amount of those games because they were pretty good. Um, Super Bowl though. Now, I don't want to include Super Bowl into the playoffs because that was not good. It was not good. One, it was low scoring, and yeah, there's people out there that like defense, but if you're trying to appeal to a wide audience, which is as big as an audience as you can get for the Super Bowl, because people watch it who aren't big NFL fans, and so if you want to draw new fans into your game, you want a high scoring Super Bowl, and that's what the NFL wants. They want a high scoring game throughout the year in every game. So when you get a 9-3 game with not that many great defensive plays too, it's just not a great game.
It was so interesting. I feel like a lot of it. I mean, there was some good defense in that game, but I feel like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it was just bad offense on both sides.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem. I mean, a good defense can be fun to watch, but bad offense, there's just.
Yeah, there was some bad offense in that game. That's definitely for sure, and so many punts too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
it
record punt?
hurt, and the halftime performance wasn't great either.
No, that was abysmal.
So, I mean, I'm sorry if you went to that Super Bowl. I don't want to say that, but of all the Super Bowls to pick, like, that's rough. I mean, you paid all that money just to see a punt contest. Like, honestly.
Yeah, I would never go to a Super Bowl.
Honestly, were there some good punts? We could dissect. There were some pretty good punts.
Dude,
That
the
Patriots
record punt, the one
that
was the
Patriots
record.
punter, man. And yeah, the one was a record for the Rams, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I was really thinking one of them could have won MVP. Like, I mean, up until that final drive, and obviously Julian Edelman completely deserving of that MVP.
Right.
And then finally, some upcoming free agents. To be honest, it's not the biggest year in free agency in terms of big names. You have DeMarcus Lawrence out there and Jadeveon Clowney. Great additions for defensive line and stuff like that. But the biggest talked about free agent this year is by far going to be Le'Veon Bell. I don't really know. I don't think anyone really knows where he's going to go at this point.
No.
Or even has an idea, really.
I mean, the only two teams that I've heard are Jets and Colts.
Right. And does he really want to go? I mean, Colts, yeah. But does he really want to go to the Jets?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, they might be able to pay you a lot of money. But come on. I mean, so that's what a lot of people are going to focus on. And then obviously Antonio Brown. He's not a free agent, but there could be some drama going in Pittsburgh with that. And then if you lose both Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, what's your future looking like?
And
Obviously,
soon
James
Ben
Conner.
Roethlisberger.
And Roethlisberger going to retire soon. Pittsburgh didn't make the playoffs this year. What are you going to do? Are they going to be back in it next year? At this point, I think no.
No, they won't.
Do you think they should go into full-out rebuild?
No. I think they need to get a quarterback.
Right.
That's really
I would
what they
agree.
need first. I mean, the rest of their team's decent.
Yeah, it's not a bad team. I mean, they almost made the playoffs this year.
Yeah, they should have if the Chargers weren't so good.
Yeah, there's some games in their season where you're like, ooh, should have won that one,
True.
I believe they tied against the Browns week 1.
Yeah. I think that's what really hurt him.
Yeah, that hurts. So, that's our review of this 2018-19 NFL season. I thought it was a pretty good year overall. So, that will be it for this video. We'll have some other stuff coming out soon. We're going to have an NBA trade deadline video coming out probably today. And then we'll have not a mock draft. Well, we will have that, but we'll have a what's it called? Power rankings power rankings of pretty soon as well. So make sure to look out for those. Oh, and also Eagles season review and draft for them. So that'll be it for that. And yeah, see you in the next video.